Easy English listening. Fun podcasts for learners. Introduction. Think about this. You are traveling, maybe on a bus, train, or walking. You have a little time. What if you could use this time to get better at English instead of just waiting? Many people learning English find listening hard. People who speak English well can talk very fast. Sometimes their words sound like they all run together. It's easy to feel confused, and that can make you feel bad. But what if there was a way to make this listening practice not just work well, but also be fun and easy? This book will show you how. We think learning English should be fun, not hard work. Listening is like a superpower for English learners. It helps us understand movies, songs, and most importantly, other people. When you can listen well, you can speak better. You start to hear how words sound together, new words come to you easily, and you feel more sure of yourself when you talk to others. But the old ways of practicing listening, like listening to news or fast movies, can be too hard for beginners. The speed is often too fast, the words are too hard, and the accents can be confusing. You might end up feeling sad instead of helped. The important thing is not just listening more, it's about listening to the right things in the right way. You need practice that feels good and makes sense to you. This is where podcasts come in. Podcasts are like small radio shows you can listen to on your phone, computer, or tablet. They are very easy to use. You can listen anywhere, anytime. There are podcasts about anything you can think of, from funny stories to interesting facts. You can change how fast they talk. So, if someone talks too fast, you can make them slower. You can also listen again and again until you understand. This book is your helpful guide to finding out how podcasts can make your English learning journey exciting and successful. Our main idea is simple. Using fun, easy podcasts is a great way for English learners to get better at listening, find new words, and make learning fun, even when you are traveling. We call this listening practice that is fun and easy to understand. Fun means the podcasts are interesting. They have people talking that you like, topics you care about, or stories that make you want to keep listening. You will look forward to your listening time. Easy to understand means the podcasts are simple to follow. The speakers talk clearly, not too fast, and use words you know. You won't feel lost. You'll feel like you are part of the talk. When listening is both fun and easy to understand, learning happens by itself. You learn new English without trying too hard. This book is your good friend. It has a list of podcasts that are just right for learners like you. We have worked hard to find shows that are both fun and easy to understand. You will get better at listening, learn many new words, and feel more confident. You will also learn how to use those small bits of time in your day, like your travel time, to make real progress. We will also share simple tips to help you get the most from every show. So, are you ready to make your travel time a fun and useful English learning time? Let's start this exciting listening journey together. 1. Good podcasts for learning English. Finding the right sound for your ears can be like finding a favorite song. There are so many songs, right? Some are loud and fast. Some are slow and quiet. Some just don't feel right. It's the same with podcasts. We want to find podcasts that are like that perfect song. We want ones that make us feel good, help us understand things better, and maybe even make us want to move. When we talk about good podcasts for learning English, we mean special podcasts. We mean the ones that act like a kind friend. They hold your hand as you learn about spoken English. These podcasts are made to help people like you and me who are learning the language. Let's think about why not all podcasts are the same for learners. Imagine learning to swim in a wild, rough sea. It might be exciting, but it's also very hard and maybe a little scary. Now, imagine learning in a calm, Clear swimming pool with a patient teacher. That's the difference we want with podcasts. A normal podcast made for people who already speak English perfectly might be too fast. It might use too many slang words or talk about things that are hard to understand. It's like trying to hear someone talking far away with lots of noise. You might hear a word here and there, but you don't get the whole message. That's not fun, is it? And it's not what we call listening practice that is easy to understand and interesting. We want to be able to follow along, understand the main ideas, and learn new things without feeling lost. So, what makes a podcast a good one for learning English? It's like a special recipe. First, speaking clearly is very important. Imagine someone talking with their mouth full of food or speaking so fast they sound like they're running. That doesn't help. Good learning podcasts have speakers who talk clearly. You can hear every word. They also speak at a speed that feels just right. It's not too slow that it's boring, but not too fast that you can't keep up. It's like walking at a comfortable speed. You can hear their voice, understand how they say words, and follow their thoughts easily. Next, let's talk about words that are right for you. We all want to learn new words, right? But if a podcast uses hundreds of new, hard words in every sentence, it feels like climbing a very tall mountain without resting. Good learning podcasts use words that most learners at your level can understand. And when they do use a new word, they often explain it. Or you can guess what it means from the story or conversation. It's like finding a treasure box where some of the jewels are ones you know, and the new ones are explained so you can see them and keep them. This is key to making listening easy to understand. You can actually understand what's being said and learn from it naturally. Then there's interesting content. This is where the fun comes in. If a podcast is boring, you'll stop listening, no matter how clear the speaker is or how simple the words are. We want podcasts that catch our attention. Maybe it's an exciting story, a funny chat, or a topic you're really curious about. When you're interested, you'll want to listen more. You'll pay close attention, your brain will be active, and you'll learn more without trying too hard. This is the interesting part of our listening practice that is easy to understand and interesting. It's what makes you want to come back for more. Some podcasts also have planned learning. This means they might be made on purpose for English learners. They might give you notes with new words, or even a full written text of what was said. Some might have parts that explain grammar rules or common phrases. These are like having a helpful teacher right there with you, showing you important things and making sure you understand. So we've talked about what to look for. But what kinds of podcasts are like this? You can find podcasts that tell stories. These can be fairy tales, true stories, or made-up adventures. Hearing stories helps you understand how sentences are built and how ideas connect. There are also podcasts that have talks about everyday things. Think about talking about hobbies, food, travel, or daily life. These are great because they use language you'll actually use in real life. And yes, there are podcasts made to teach grammar or words in a fun way. These can be like a friendly teacher explaining difficult parts of English. The main idea is to find podcasts that are a good fit for you. They should feel like a normal part of your day. Maybe when you're going to work or school, while you're doing jobs around the house, or even when you're just relaxing. This is the heart of listening practice that is easy to understand and interesting. It's making learning a part of your life, not a separate, hard job. When listening is interesting, you stay motivated. When it's easy to understand, you can learn new words and grammar naturally. This helps make your listening skills better and makes the whole process more enjoyable. Now let's look closer. How can you know if a podcast is good for you, even if it doesn't say for English learners? It's like being a detective. First, listen to the very beginning. Does the speaker sound clear? Can you understand their accent well enough? If you can't understand the first few sentences, it might be too hard right now. That's okay. You can always listen to it later. Next, listen for a few minutes. Are they using words you've never heard, or words that seem very difficult? Are they talking about something you know nothing about? If you understand the main idea of what they're saying, even if you don't know every single word, that's a good sign. It means the podcast is easy enough to understand for you to learn from. You can learn new words and phrases from the situation. Also, notice how you feel. Are you getting upset because you can't understand anything? Or are you feeling curious and wanting to know what happens next? If you're feeling curious and interested, that's the magic. That's the fun in fun podcasts. It means the topic is interesting to you, which is a big part of learning well. Let me tell you about Maria. Maria liked the idea of learning English, but she found school books and grammar practice very boring. She felt like she was just learning lists of words she would never use. She traveled to work for about 30 minutes each way. Before, she used to just look at her phone. One day, a friend told her about podcasts. Maria wasn't sure. Podcasts? For learning English? She thought. Her friend suggested a podcast called Everyday English Conversations. The speakers had clear voices, and they talked about simple things like buying coffee, meeting new people, or planning a weekend trip. At first, Maria could only understand about half of what they said. She heard words like awesome, hang out, and catch up. She didn't know exactly what they meant, but from how they talked and the situations they described, she started to get a feeling for them. She would say the phrases to herself in the car. Hang out, she would whisper. Catch up. After a few weeks, Maria noticed something amazing. She was understanding more and more. The words awesome, hang out, and catch up were no longer strange sounds. They were words she understood and could even start to use in her mind. She found herself looking forward to her travel time, not as a chore, but as her listening time. She was learning without feeling like she was studying. The conversations were interesting because they felt real, like listening to friends chat. And because the language was clear and the topics were easy to relate to, it was easy to understand. This was exactly the kind of listening practice that is easy to understand and interesting that this book is all about. Maria wasn't just listening, she was actively learning and enjoying it. She felt more confident, and she started to feel like she could actually use her English. So the next time you look for a podcast, think about Maria. Think about finding that clear voice, those interesting topics, and that comfortable speed. It's not just about listening. It's about finding the right sounds that will help you grow. Now that we understand what makes a podcast a powerful tool for learning English and have a sense of what to look for, the next important step is to discover how to best use these fantastic resources. In the next section, we will look at useful ways to actively listen to podcasts, changing simple enjoyment into active learning and getting the most progress. 2. Fun and easy listening experiences. Learning English can feel like climbing a very tall hill. You try to learn new words, you practice talking, and you read books. But what about listening? Listening to English can be hard. Sometimes, people talk too fast, or they use words you do not know. This can make you feel sad, and you might think learning English is too difficult. But what if I told you there is a fun way to get better at listening? It is like finding a secret path up that hill, a path with flowers and a nice view. This path is listening to podcasts that are fun and easy to understand. We call this fun and easy listening. It means finding things to listen to that you like and that you can understand. When you find these special podcasts, learning English becomes more fun, and you get better faster. Think about it. When you do something you enjoy, you want to do it again and again. This is true for learning too. If listening to English feels like work, you will not want to do it. But if it feels like fun, like listening to a friend tell a funny story or learning about something new you like, then you will want to listen more. And the more you listen, the better your ears get at understanding English. My friend Maria felt this way. She wanted to learn English for her job, but she found it very hard. When she tried to watch movies or listen to the news, she felt lost. The people spoke too fast and the words were too hard. She started to feel sad. Then I told her about podcasts. At first, she was not sure. Podcasts? Will they be too hard too? She asked. I told her to try a podcast about baking, which she loved. She found one where the people spoke slowly and clearly, and they talked about simple recipes. They used common words, and they often said important steps again. Maria started listening while she made her morning coffee. Soon, she was not only understanding the recipes, but she was also learning new words about baking, like whisk, fold, and preheat. She looked forward to her morning coffee time because she could listen to her podcast and learn at the same time. It was not like studying at all. It was just fun. This is how fun and easy podcasts work. The fun part comes from the topics. Imagine listening to a podcast about your favorite sport, about interesting places to visit, or about funny animal stories. When the topic is something you care about, your brain is already interested. You want to know what happens next. The people who make these podcasts are often very excited. They might laugh, tell jokes, or share their own stories. This makes listening feel like talking with friends, not like a boring class. The shows are usually not too long, so you can listen to one or two on your way to work or while you do chores. This keeps things new and exciting, and you do not get tired of it. The easy part is also very important. It means the podcast is made for people who are learning English. These podcasts are often made by teachers or people who know how hard it is to learn a new language. They speak clearly and they do not use very hard words. They might speak a little slower than people who speak English all the time. Sometimes, they even stop to explain a difficult word or phrase. Think about the difference between trying to understand someone talking very fast on the news and listening to someone explain a simple idea step by step. The second one is much easier to follow, right? This easy part means you can understand most of what is being said. When you can understand, you can learn. If you cannot understand anything, you just feel lost and sad. So, how do these fun and easy podcasts help us learn? First, fun helps you remember. When you are having fun, your brain is more open to new things. Think about when you were a child and learned something new by playing a game. It felt easy, and you remembered it for a long time. Fun podcasts do the same thing for English. When you listen to a podcast about something you love, your brain is excited. This excitement helps you pay attention better. You are not thinking, oh no, I have to study English. You are thinking, oh, this is interesting. What will they say next? This good feeling makes you want to listen more. It is like eating a tasty meal, you want more. A podcast about funny stories, for example, will make you laugh. Laughing is a sign of enjoyment, and when you enjoy something, your mind is more relaxed and ready to learn new things. This feeling is very important. Without it, even the best learning tools can feel like a heavy load. The host's energy, the interesting stories, and the topics that feel real all work together to make learning feel natural and easy. Second, easy means you can understand. This is a very important idea. For a podcast to help you learn, you need to understand it. If a podcast is too hard, you will feel discouraged. But if it is too easy, you will not learn anything new. Easy in this case means just right. It means you can understand most of the words and sentences, maybe about 70–80%. This way, you can follow the story or conversation. When you understand most of what you hear, you can learn new words and grammar naturally. It is like building with blocks. You need to see the blocks clearly to put them together. If the blocks are blurry, you cannot build anything. Podcasts that are easy to understand give you clear blocks of language. These podcasts often speak at a medium speed, which is much slower than native speakers talking fast. They also tend to use common words and sentences that are easier for learners to understand. Some podcasts even have written words that go with what is said. If you miss something, you can read it. This makes listening much less stressful and much more helpful. Let's think more about this easy-to-understand idea. Imagine you are trying to learn a new game. If the rules are explained in a very complicated way, you will probably stop trying. But if someone explains the rules simply and maybe shows you how to play, you can learn quickly. Podcasts for learners are like that simple explanation. They break down the language into smaller, easier pieces. For example, a podcast episode might be about planning a trip. The people will talk about buying tickets, finding hotels, and what to pack. They will use words like book, reserve, check-in, and luggage. These are common words for travel. They will probably use simple sentences like, "First, you need to book your flight," or "Then, find a nice hotel." This clearness is what makes the podcast easy and therefore easy to understand. It allows you to focus on understanding the message and learning new language instead of struggling to figure out the sounds. Third, you are actively thinking, not just hearing. When you listen to a fun and easy podcast, you are not just letting the sounds pass by. You are thinking about it. You are trying to understand the story. You are listening for new words. You might even be trying to guess what will happen next. This active thinking is much better for learning than just hearing English in the background. Think about watching a movie you really enjoy. You are following the story. You are paying attention to how the characters feel. You are trying to understand why they do things. You are involved. Fun and easy podcasts create this same kind of involvement. You might listen to a mystery podcast and try to guess who did it before the end. Or you might listen to a podcast about history and try to remember the important dates and people. This thinking helps you remember what you hear. It makes your brain work a little, but in a good way. It is like exercising for your ears. Let me share another example. My student Kenji was learning English and loved science. He found a podcast called Science for Kids. Even though he was an adult, the podcast was perfect for him. The person speaking explained difficult science ideas, like how volcanoes work or why the sky is blue, in a very simple and exciting way. Kenji found himself leaning closer to his phone, trying to understand every word. He would sometimes stop the podcast to think about what he just heard. He even started telling his friends about the interesting science facts he learned. He was actively listening, not just hearing. This active involvement changed his listening practice from something he had to do into something he wanted to do. He was actively part of the learning, not just receiving information. Fourth, learning new words in context. This is one of the biggest good things about listening to podcasts. When you learn new words from a list, it is hard to remember them and know how to use them. But when you hear a new word used in a story or a conversation, you understand its meaning from the situation. For example, if you hear someone say, "I'm so exhausted after that long walk," you can guess that exhausted means very tired. The situation of the long walk helps you understand the word. Fun and easy podcasts are full of these real examples. You hear words used in real sentences, in real situations. This makes the words easier to remember and easier to use yourself. Let's say you were listening to a podcast about food. The person speaking might say, "This soup is so delicious. It has a wonderful aroma." You hear delicious and aroma when talking about food. You understand that delicious means it tastes very good. You also understand that aroma is about the smell of the food. Later, when you are talking about your own food, you can use these words because you remember how they were used in the podcast. This is much better than just memorizing delicious equals very good taste and aroma equals smell. You are learning language as people actually use it. So, to answer the question, how does the way a fun and easy podcast is made help a learner want to keep listening and learn? The way it is made is very important. It is the mix of choosing topics that people are naturally interested in, like hobbies, travel, or everyday life. It is the personality of the people speaking, their kindness, humor, and real excitement about the subject. When the speakers sound like real people talking, it makes you feel connected. The length of the shows also matters. Shorter shows 10-25 minutes are not as scary and fit easily into a busy day. Clear parts within a show, like an introduction, the main topic, and a short summary, help learners follow along. Even the background music or sounds, when used well, can make the mood better and make listening more like being there. All these parts work together to make the listener feel entertained and curious, instead of feeling forced to learn. This good feeling is the engine that keeps you listening. It makes listening go from a job to something enjoyable. And what things make a podcast easy for an English learner to understand, and how do these things help learning? The main thing is being easy to understand. This means clear speaking. People say their words clearly, without mumbling. Medium speed. They talk at a speed that lets learners understand, often slower than native speakers in normal talk. Simpler words. They use common words and phrases, not slang or very technical words unless they are explained. Repeating and explaining. Important ideas or new words might be said again or explained in different ways, helping you understand. Clear order. Shows have a logical flow, making it easy to follow the main ideas. Hints in the talk. The conversation or story around a word gives clues to its meaning. Helpful extras good to have. Some podcasts offer written words, lists of words, or summaries, which help even more with understanding. 3. Improving English listening skills. When I first started learning English, listening felt like trying to catch lightning in a bottle. Words flew by so fast, a blur of sounds I couldn't grasp. It was frustrating and honestly a little scary. I remember sitting in a cafe, trying to follow a simple conversation around me, but it was like listening to a secret code. I'd catch a word here and there, but the meaning would slip away like sand through my fingers. It made me doubt if I'd ever truly understand spoken English. I tried everything, watching movies with subtitles, repeating dialogues, even just listening to the radio hoping something would stick. But it all felt like a chore, a difficult task I had to force myself to do. My motivation would dip, and I'd wonder if I was even making progress. Then, a friend told me about podcasts. At first, I thought, another thing to try? Will this be any different? But she insisted. She told me about these specific podcasts, ones that were made for people like us, people who were still learning. She said they were fun, easy to follow, and could be listened to anywhere. Skeptical but hopeful, I downloaded one. And you know what? It was like a door opening. The speaker's voice was clear, friendly, and not rushed. They were talking about everyday things, like going to the park or trying a new recipe. For the first time, I could actually follow along. I understood most of what they were saying. It wasn't a struggle, it was enjoyable. That little success felt huge. It was the first time I felt like understanding spoken English was actually possible, and even fun. This book is born from that feeling, that little spark of hope and the realization that learning English doesn't have to be a battle. This is where the magic of engaging and comprehensible listening practice really shines. It's not just about hearing English, it's about understanding it and enjoying the process. Imagine this: you're on your commute, maybe on a bus or train. Instead of staring out the window or scrolling through your phone, you put on a podcast. This isn't just any podcast, though. It's one that speaks clearly at a pace that lets your brain catch up. The topics are interesting, maybe about funny stories, travel adventures, or how to cook a simple meal. This is the perfect recipe for improving your English listening skills without feeling like you're studying. Let's break down how this actually helps your ears and your brain get better at understanding English. First, these podcasts offer a wonderful balance. They use natural, real English, but at a speed that's kind to learners. Think of it like a gentle river flowing, not a raging waterfall. When you listen to native speakers talking very, very fast, it's like trying to drink from that waterfall. It's splashed, but you don't really drink. But with these podcasts, the pace is just right. You can hear each word, understand the flow of sentences, and start to pick up on the natural rhythm of English. This is super important because English has its own music, its own way of stressing certain words and linking them together. By listening to this gentle flow, your ears start to get used to it. You begin to recognize patterns. You might not understand every single word at first, but you start to feel the rhythm, the rise and fall of voices. This repeated exposure, this gentle immersion, is like training your ear. It helps you become more comfortable with the sounds and the way English is spoken in everyday life. It's like learning to dance. At first, you're a bit clumsy, but with practice, you start to feel the beat and move more smoothly. Then there's the vocabulary. We all need new words to speak and understand better, right? But memorizing long lists of words can be really boring. You might learn the word bamboozle, but if you hear it in a podcast and the speaker is telling a funny story about someone trying to trick them, you understand bamboozle not just as a word, but as an action, a feeling. You hear it used in a real situation. This is where context is king. When you hear a new word within a story or a conversation, your brain connects it to the situation, the emotions, and the overall meaning. This makes the word stick in your memory much better than just seeing it on a list. It's like learning a new friend's name. If you meet them at a party and chat for a while, you'll remember their name better than if someone just shouts it across a crowded room. These podcasts provide that friendly introduction to new words, making them feel less like homework and more like discovering treasures. You start to build a rich vocabulary, not by forcing yourself, but by naturally picking up words as they are, used in fun and interesting ways. These podcasts also help you develop super useful comprehension strategies. Sometimes you're listening to someone and you don't understand every single word, but you still get the main idea, right? That's a skill. These podcasts encourage you to do just that. You start to notice things. Maybe the speaker's voice gets excited when they talk about something good, or they sigh when they mention a problem. These are clues. The tone of their voice, the way they pause, the words they repeat, these all help you understand the meaning, even if you don't know every single word. This is called gist listening, and it's incredibly powerful for language learners. Instead of getting stuck on one word you don't know, you learn to listen for the main message. The fun part of these podcasts is key here. Because you're enjoying the content, you're more likely to pay attention and actively try to figure things out. You become a detective, piecing together the meaning from the clues you hear. This active engagement is what truly helps your brain learn to process spoken English more effectively. It's like solving a puzzle. The more you do it, the better you get at seeing the patterns and finding the missing pieces. Perhaps one of the most important benefits is the boost it gives to your confidence and motivation. Think about that first time you understood a good chunk of a podcast. It felt great, didn't it? That feeling of success is like a little reward. It tells your brain, hey, you can do this. This positive reinforcement is incredibly powerful. When you feel like you're succeeding, you're more likely to keep going. You want to listen more, learn more, and explore more. It creates a positive cycle. You listen, you understand, you feel good, you listen more. This is so much better than the feeling of frustration you might get from trying to understand something too difficult. Learning through enjoyment removes the heavy feeling of work. It makes English learning feel less like a chore and more like a hobby. You start looking forward to your listening time. It becomes a natural part of your day, something you choose to do because it's fun and rewarding. This sustained motivation is the secret ingredient to long-term success in learning any language. It's about building a sustainable habit that you can stick with day after day, week after week. Let's dig a little deeper into why these specific kinds of podcasts work so well for improving your listening skills. It all comes back to that core idea: engaging and comprehensible listening practice. The comprehensible part means the language is at a level you can understand, or at least mostly understand. This is crucial. If a podcast is too difficult, you'll quickly get discouraged. You'll feel lost, overwhelmed, and want to give up. But when the language is comprehensible, you can follow the conversation, pick up on new words, and understand the main ideas. This makes the learning process feel natural and effortless. Now, what makes them engaging? It's the content, the way it's presented, and the feeling it gives you. Imagine a podcast that tells stories about everyday people facing funny or interesting situations. The speakers might use simple jokes, relatable scenarios, and clear, friendly voices. This isn't just about learning grammar rules. It's about connecting with the language on a human level. The topics are things you might actually talk about or experience. This connection makes the listening experience much more meaningful. You're not just passively absorbing sounds. You're actively participating in a conversation, even if you're just listening. Consider the specific features that make these podcasts so effective. Firstly, the pronunciation is usually very clear. The speakers enunciate their words well, which helps you distinguish between similar-sounding words. They avoid mumbling or speaking too quickly, which are common challenges for learners. Secondly, the pace is managed. They might speak a little slower than a native speaker in a casual chat, or they might pause between ideas to give you time to process. This slower pace allows you to focus on the meaning of each word and sentence. It's not about speaking unnaturally slowly. It's about speaking at a pace that allows for understanding. This is a key difference from many native-level podcasts where the speed can be a major barrier. Thirdly, the topics are often chosen to be universally interesting. Whether it's about travel, food, hobbies, or simple daily life, these subjects are relatable. When you're interested in what someone is talking about, you're naturally more focused and attentive. This increased attention leads to better comprehension. You're not just hearing English, you're hearing English about something you care about. This makes the learning process much more enjoyable and effective. Now, let's look at how the enjoyment factor translates into tangible improvements in vocabulary. Traditional methods, like flashcards or vocabulary lists, often teach words in isolation. You might learn the word diligent, but do you know how to use it? Do you understand its nuance? probably not as well as if you heard it in a story. For example, imagine a podcast about a student who studied very hard for an exam. The speaker might say she was incredibly diligent, staying up late to study every night. Here, diligent is used in a context that clearly shows its meaning: hardworking and thorough. You hear the word, you see the action it describes, and you understand its positive connotation. This makes the word much more memorable and usable. Moreover, when you're enjoying a podcast, you're more likely to listen to it multiple times. You might re-listen to a particular episode because you loved the story or the topic. Each time you listen, you pick up something new. You might catch a word you missed before, or understand a phrase in a new way. This repeated exposure to vocabulary and context is far more effective than cramming a list of words. It helps you internalize the meaning and usage of words naturally, just like a child learns their first language. The fun aspect makes you want to revisit the material, which is the best kind of repetition. It's not forced, it's desired. This approach also builds crucial comprehension skills beyond just vocabulary. You start to develop what we call inferencing skills. This means you can guess the meaning of unknown words or phrases based on the surrounding words, the tone of voice, and the overall context. For instance, if a podcast host says, "I was absolutely famished after that long hike. I could have eaten a whole cow." You might not know famished, but the context of a long hike and the exaggerated statement "could have eaten a whole cow" strongly suggest it means very, very hungry. These podcasts provide a safe and enjoyable space to practice these inferencing skills. You're not penalized for not knowing every word. You're encouraged to use the clues you have to understand the bigger picture. The confidence that comes from successfully understanding these podcasts is a powerful motivator. Each time you follow a story, understand a joke, or learn a new word, you get a little hit of success. This builds your self-belief. You start to think, "Wow, I can actually understand English." This newfound confidence can spill over into other areas of your learning. You might feel more comfortable speaking, or more willing to try watching a movie without subtitles. It's a virtuous cycle where enjoyment leads to understanding, which leads to confidence, which leads to more learning. Ultimately, by actively engaging with these carefully chosen podcasts, learners aren't just passively hearing English, they are building a strong foundation. 4. Learning new vocabulary on the go. Sometimes, learning English feels like trying to fill a cup with a tiny spoon. You know there are many good words, but getting them into your head and making them stay can feel slow and tiring. We try picture cards, we try lists, and sometimes it just feels like work. But what if there's a way to find a big ocean of new words, and you don't even have to feel like you're studying? What if these words just came to you, naturally, while you were having fun? That's where our fun audio shows come in. Think of them as little boxes of word treasures, waiting for you to open them. Every time you listen to an audio show you truly enjoy, you're not just making your ears better, you're also finding new words. And the best part? You're finding them in their natural place. Let's imagine my friend Maria. Maria loves gardening. She could talk about flowers and vegetables for hours. But when it came to English, she felt stuck. She knew basic words, but when she heard people talking about cutting back a plant or adding food to the soil, she'd just nod and hope for the best. She tried picture cards for gardening words, but it felt boring. She'd forget them quickly. One day, I told her to find an audio show about gardening. She was a bit unsure. "Will it be too hard?" she asked. "I don't want to be lost." I told her to find one that sounded fun and not too fast. She found a show called The Green Thumb Hour. The person talking had a friendly voice, and they talked about simple things like how to plant seeds or what to do when the weather gets hot. At first, Maria still heard words she didn't know, but because she loved gardening so much, she wanted to understand. When the host said, "Make sure you give water to your baby plants often so they don't get weak from no water," Maria paused the show. She'd never heard "get weak from no water" before, but because she could picture the little baby plants, she guessed it meant something like become sad or die. She made a quick note in a small book she kept by her phone. "Get weak from no water, plants get sad from no water." Later, she looked it up to check. It was exactly right. This is the magic of audio shows. Words don't just appear from nowhere. They come with a story, an explanation, a feeling. When you hear about giving water to baby plants so they don't get weak from no water, you see it. In your mind, you feel the connection between water, plants, and the idea of weakness. This is much stronger than seeing the word "get weak from no water" by itself on a piece of paper. This is fun and easy listening practice in action. The audio show is interesting, fun, and Maria can understand most of it easy. Because of this, new words stick. Audio shows are like natural word banks because they show you words in action. Imagine learning the word tasty. If you just see it on a list, it's just a word. But if you're listening to an audio show where someone is telling about a cake they just baked and they say, "Oh, this chocolate cake is so wet and tasty," you have to try a piece, then you understand. You hear the happy sound in their voice. You can picture the good taste. The word tasty is linked to a happy feeling and a good treat. It makes sense. You don't just learn the meaning, you learn the feeling of the word. This is why what's around the word is so important. When a word is used in a sentence, it's like it has a little sign pointing to its meaning. You don't have to guess blindly. The audio show host might be talking about a busy city street. They might say the cars were so many, it was almost impossible to move. The streets were completely full of cars. You hear "full of cars" and you think of the busy, stuck cars. The word fits perfectly. You're not just remembering "full of cars" equals lots of traffic. You're understanding why it means that, because you heard the whole picture of the slow-moving cars. This makes the word much easier to remember and use later. And then there's hearing it again. Think about your favorite song. You hear it a few times and soon you know all the words. Audio shows work in a similar way, but even better because they are about things you want to listen to. If Maria keeps listening to the Green Thumb Hour, she'll hear words like cutting back, adding food, and baby plants many times. The host might talk about cutting back flowers in spring, then cutting back fruit trees in fall. You hear the word "cutting back" used in slightly different ways, but always with the same basic idea of shaping. Plants. This repeated hearing helps the word settle into your brain. It's not forced, it's natural. It's like a friendly reminder that keeps popping up. You start to feel comfortable with the word. It becomes part of your English words without you even knowing you were studying it. This brings us to another strong idea: learning through what you like. If you love cooking, find audio shows about recipes or food history. If you're into sports, listen to audio shows about your favorite teams or players. If you enjoy stories, there are audio shows that tell amazing tales. When you listen to something you're genuinely interested in, your brain is more open. You're curious. You want to understand what the speaker is saying. This curiosity is a superpower for learning words. Let's say you're learning English and you love science fiction movies. You find an audio show where two friends talk about the latest sci-fi films. They might discuss how a spaceship uses push to travel. You might not know push. But because you're excited about spaceships and travel, you pay extra attention. You listen carefully to how they use the word. They might say, "The new engine plan gives the ship amazing push, letting it travel at super speed." You can picture the strong push from the engine. The word push becomes linked to that exciting picture of a fast spaceship. Your interest makes the word unforgettable. This is fun and easy listening practice. The topic is fun and you can follow along. So, how do you go from just hearing to actively listening for new words? It's about changing your focus a little. Instead of trying to understand every single word, try to understand the main idea. But while you're doing that, keep your ears open for words that sound new or interesting. Think of it like walking through a beautiful garden. You see the big picture, all the colors, the shapes, the smells. But you also notice the little details, a special flower, a busy bee, a drop of water on a leaf. When listening to an audio show, focus on the main message first. But also, be like a gentle detective, looking for those little word clues. Here's a simple trick. When you hear a word you don't know, don't stop the audio show right away to look it up. That can break the flow and make it less fun. Instead, try to guess the meaning from what's around it, like Maria did with get weak from no water. Or, if it sounds really important, just make a mental note. You can say to yourself, okay, that word sounded useful. I'll remember to check that later. Sometimes, it's helpful to have a little notebook or a note-taking app close by. When you hear a word that makes you curious, quickly write it down. Just the word itself is fine, or maybe the short sentence it was in. Don't worry about perfect spelling right now. The goal is just to capture the word before it goes away. After you finish listening, you can then go back to your list and look up the meanings. This way, you're not stopping your listening fun, but you're still capturing those new words. Another idea is to use your phone sound recorder. If you hear a sentence with a new word that you really want to remember, you can quickly record yourself saying it. Then later, you can listen to your own recording and look up the words. It's a fun way to use the language. Let's think about different kinds of audio shows. Storytelling audio shows are amazing for words. When someone tells a story, they use words that paint a picture. You'll hear words for feelings, for actions, for places. For example, an audio show that tells fairy tales might use words like magical, brave, dark, or shiny. These words are often full of meaning and feeling, making them easy to remember. Interview audio shows are also great. When one person talks to another, they often ask questions that lead to long answers. The person being talked to might use special words related to their job or their experiences. If you listen to an interview with a cook, you'll learn cooking words. If you listen to an interview with a doctor, you might learn some basic health terms. The talk flows naturally and you pick up words as they come up. Audio shows about a certain topic, like Maria's gardening show, are perfect for learning words related to that subject. If you love history, find a history audio show. You'll hear words like old, kingdom, big change, or king. These words are directly useful if you want to talk or read about history. The main thing is to choose a topic that truly excites you. This makes the words linked to it much easier to learn and remember. The important thing is that the audio show is both interesting and easy to understand. This is the heart of fun and easy listening practice. If an audio show is too hard, you'll get upset and new words will just sound like noise. If it's too easy, you won't find many new words. The best place is where you understand most of it, but there are just enough new words and sentences to keep you learning and feeling good about yourself. So, imagine yourself on your way somewhere, or while you're doing jobs, or just resting. Instead of just letting sounds pass by, you're actively finding new words. You're not forcing yourself. You're not looking at a book. You're simply listening to something fun, and those new words are coming to you like little gifts. They arrive with their own explanations, their own feelings, and their own stories. This makes them much more likely to stay with you. You're not just remembering a word, you're learning a piece of the language that fits perfectly into a real situation. It's a much more satisfying and effective way to build your words. So, we've seen how audio shows can be a treasure box for new words. But simply hearing new words isn't enough. The next step is to make sure you truly understand what you're hearing, even when the speaker talks a little faster or uses slightly more complex words. Let's explore how to build that confidence and understanding. Conclusion. Hello again, friend. You finished our journey together, and that's great. Think about why you started reading this book. Maybe you wanted to watch your favorite shows without help, or maybe you wished you could talk easily with people from other countries. No matter the reason, you've done something important by being here. This book showed you that learning English, especially listening, doesn't have to be hard. It can be fun. You learned that the best way to get better is by listening to things you like and that are easy enough to understand. This idea, listening that is interesting and easy to understand, is the most important part. What does interesting mean? It means something that catches your attention, like a good story or a funny talk. When something you listen to is interesting, you don't want to stop. You want to know what happens next, or you just like the sound of the person talking. This makes you want to listen more. That's how you get better at listening without even feeling like you're studying. And easy to understand? That just means simple to follow. It's not too fast and the words aren't too hard. You can understand most of it. When you listen to something easy to understand, your mind can learn new words and phrases without effort. It's like planting seeds that will grow into your new English knowledge. When you have both of these together, interesting and easy to understand, that's when the magic happens. If it's interesting but too hard to understand, you get upset. If it's easy but boring, you fall asleep. But when it's just right, you feel smart and want to keep going. You understand enough to continue, and you continue because it's fun. This special mix is your way to feel more sure of yourself and to get better. It's how you improve your listening, learn new words without trying hard, and make learning a happy part of your day, even when you're just going to work. So what's next? Keep looking for new things. Remember to choose things to listen to that you find interesting and that are spoken at a speed you can follow. Don't forget the small tips we shared, like using written words when you need them. The most important thing is to listen often. Even a few minutes each day can make a big difference. Use your time going to work or even when you're doing chores as your own English class. You have the tools and the knowledge now. You can do this. Keep listening, keep exploring, and most of all, keep enjoying your wonderful journey of learning English. The world has many great stories waiting for you to hear them. Happy listening!